Hello from my van. We've just seen Antlers, and we're waiting to go see Last Night in Soho. So we're going to talk about Antlers from the van. I don't have much that I want to say on camera, so I'm just going to chill here and let y'all say whatever your thoughts are.
Yes.
Should we do? Well, let's do a brief non-spoilery, and then we'll get into spoilers. So, do you think this was a scary movie?
It had a few jump scares.
Couple of jump scares. I want to say good 2 or 3.
Would you say it's a scary movie, though?
It's more of a thriller.
Definitely.
It's not horror per se.
So I would not say it's scary.
It's mythological.
I would say
thriller.
it's disturbing, is what I would say.
Satanic in a way, sure, but not exactly horror film.
I thought that's a spoiler, technically.
Okay.
Spoiler.
So, enjoyed? Yes or no?
I liked it. It was pretty
I liked
good.
it. Yeah. Did you like it?
I'm not sure yet. I've got conflicting feelings. So, overall, don't expect a horror movie, but if you're into weirdness, not terrible, not bad.
Yeah.
Is that a consensus that we all share?
I can agree to that.
All right. Spoilers from this point forward.
Spoiler alerts.
Away.
So I thought it would deal more with the Native American aspect. I thought it was gonna be like a bigger deal. Like they were gonna have to like find some Native American,
Artifacts or a shaman or
or like
rituals.
like more Native American rituals. I thought it was gonna be more like that because I remembered the one guy from the trailer saying that is this kid native? Well, no. Well, it's from Native American culture.
Yeah, so something you missed, because you were late. I don't remember if you were there, but you were there when all the text came up at the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically like, we're destroying the world, and so the world is mad, and spirits are going to, punish us for it. So, like, I was expecting that it was going to, like, go against people that were harming the planet, but it just attacks everyone. Like, that has nothing to do with what actually happens. That's just the catalyst for why they say this spirit is here, but it doesn't actually factor into who the victims are or anything like that. So I'm like, why did we start off with that? And then they say it again in the movie when the older guy, I think he was the former sheriff, is that right?
Yes.
When he's talking about it, he literally says what they said at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why that was there. Because when you start the movie off with that, I've got it in my head that, okay, so this is going to, like, go after, corporate CEOs or something, I don't know.
Right, absolutely. I really thought this was going to target more environmental harm and definitely more towards people who aren't as, like, helpful in, like, nature and all of that.
Well, and, like, the Wendigo, he doesn't communicate with anyone.
Right.
So it's not like he can even, like, frighten people into being better about that.
Definitely.
Right? If it weren't for that the former sheriff, then no one would even know what he was there for. Right. And then, like what you were saying with rituals, like, I would have expected that it would be some kind of, ritual to show, hey, we've learned our lesson and we're going to treat the planet better. But no, there's just none of that in there.
It's just this boy's dad turning into the Wendigo, his brother turning into a Wendigo, and then they get killed, and then the Wendigo spirit travels to other human beings, and that's it. That's no rituals, no, getting rid of it, really. It says you have to, the older guy says you have to extinguish its heart, and she does that, but he also says that as soon as you do that, it's going to look for another host.
Yeah, that part was confusing, because he said it'll, like, search out another host, But I was like, but does there need to be another catalyst for it to get there? Like, was it dormant before searching for a host? And like, what about this point? Did somebody trap it in the mine before? Is that why all those wards were there? Because it existed before and somebody took it down there and trapped it there? Or was it just released because at a certain point, well, now we've done enough bad to the planet that it's awake? Like, it's very confusing why it came out at the point that it did. And yeah, did it go from the father to the son? And if so, how did it get to her brother? Did it go through her? Because she never seemed like she was affected by it.
Even though she was definitely scratched and beat up.
Right.
Which is kind of like a similar like side effect of getting like scratched up from it.
But like, so the brother was also scratched up by it.
And he also had blood dripping from his mouth.
But like, can it multiply? Because it couldn't have spread to the brother and the little kid's brother separately. I don't know how Wendigo
it didn't
transformation
seem like that. It felt like it was like only one host per.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. Like, even though it attacked the cop previously, I don't think that's supposed to be the point of passing, because after that, but before the cop shows symptoms or whatever, the other little kid gets it.
But
Which,
at the same time, the little brother could have gotten it during, like, the transformation of the father. It could have been that way as well.
so that's what
There's just a lot of things that are confusing.
Right.
And, like, it's not very clear. It's not a very clear movie. Like, there's no real reason for anything that happens.
I'm just confused about how many Wendigo spirits there are. Is it 2? Is it that the dad and the brother were both infected separately, and for some reason the dad...
Well, yeah, because the little kid went in after his dad.
Yeah, why didn't...
Was that the little boy? Was that Aiden or was that Lucas?
Aiden was the one at the very beginning, before you got there,
okay.
and when you left.
So it's the dad going into the mine, and then with a friend, I think.
Right.
And then they don't come out after a while, I think. And so the little boy goes in and goes, "Daddy?"
Yeah, he was just standing like in the doorway to the warehouse, though, I think.
No, he
walked into the warehouse.
No, that was the
straight
mine.
to the mine.
Did he go into the mine?
Because
Okay.
I walked in on that part.
Because the mine entrance is inside the warehouse.
Yeah.
He was like near all the medicine bags and stuff.
Right.
He walked past that to
Okay.
go find his dad.
Yeah, I think I was not paying attention because I was trying to catch you guys up with what had happened, which was not much. And then, so I think I forgot that part. I remember it now that you say it. But yeah, I'm just like, are there 2 separate Wendigo spirits, or is it one spirit that's jumping back and forth, or is it one spirit that's multiplying into multiple spirits? I don't know.
Well, okay, so the kid was sick, but then as soon as the one guy, the dad, as soon as the dad had his heart taken out of him...
Then the antlers started coming out
of
the kid.
Aiden, yeah.
Like it had with the father.
It seems like it just traveled to the little brother without transforming beforehand.
Yeah. Like, we're not sure if it transferred or if there was 2, though. That's...
Right. Because if it was 2, then it's like a strange coincidence in the story that it happened to be coming out right after the first one had died.
Yeah.
And one thing I kind of got confused about is what the old sheriff was talking about, how you can only kill it in its weakened state.
Yeah, it was like it's got a hunger, but when it eats, that's when it's weakened. But then it also just increases the hunger. And then later on, he said you can only kill it in the weakened state. So it's like, so only after it eats something?
It just seems
Because
like...
that's what I thought they were working towards, is that...
And the little brother didn't eat any human flesh, so how was it able to transform?
Not that we saw, right? Yeah. So like the dad, when he started transforming, I was like, okay, so after he feeds so many times, the spirit itself gets strong enough to shed the host of the father and be its own thing. But yeah, we never saw Aiden eat any human flesh. Maybe he did off screen, but we never saw that. But so yeah, I thought where we were heading was, okay, Aiden now has
I thought
this...
that's what the little... I thought that's what he was feeding them. Not human flesh, but like...
Yeah, he was feeding them animal flesh.
But not human flesh.
But
I
yeah,
thought...
the tale, the myth, it was all about cannibalism.
Yeah. And that we'd never... The Wendigo only ate the principal and then transformed, so it wasn't really the animals that did it.
Well, there was the one body in the woods.
Alright, that's fair.
Was that the other guy from the mine?
I believe
Was that who
so.
that was?
Yeah, that was him.
And then there was the principal, and then there was the bully.
But the
from the
bully was
school.
after it had shed the human host.
Right, but like we clearly saw at least the dad version eating multiple
Right.
human bodies.
But what happened to the first Wendigo before the dad? Like, we never really got that explanation.
That's like, I don't know if that was a physical thing or if that was the spirit.
True.
And it inhabited the father and then shed, the host body of the father, and now it's just that Wendigo. But I don't know how Wendigos work. But yeah, I keep starting this and then not finishing the thought.
Even if they had just like explained Wendigos a little bit more and like how they tied into the story, that would have been better.
It's one of those things where if a movie explains too much, then people complain that the movie explains too much, and then if they don't explain enough, then they complain that they don't explain enough. But like, she's literally teaching a class about storytelling, so it would have been a bit contrived, but you could have had them talk about a story of Wendigos and like had the class explain, well, I thought Wendigos did this, and I thought that they did this.
I was upset because in the trailer it says, can anybody tell me a story about something that scares you?
Which is not what she says in the movie.
She doesn't, and then when she calls on Lucas, he doesn't even tell her a freaking story. He doesn't write about a story. He's like, there are 3 bears, and it's so stupid. It's stupid, okay? His story doesn't have anything to do with anything, and it's very, very,
His story is what's happening to his family.
Yes.
He's the baby bear.
No, he's the
middle
little
bear.
He's the little bear.
He's the middle.
Baby bear.
I'm sorry, yes. I got confused because the actor that plays the youngest brother, to me, looks older than the actor playing the middle brother. But yes, you guys are right. He's the middle bear, and his brother is the baby bear.
That I can agree with that.
Their
because
ages seem
when
weird.
He said 12, I'm like, he doesn't look
This
older
kid
than
does
8.
not look 12. And then the other one was supposed to be 7, and I was like, to me, he looks older than... But that's beside the point.
His story is very, like, it doesn't describe a lot.
True.
So, I mean, like,
Well, he
unless
doesn't...
you're looking at the pictures, the story doesn't really make any sense. But I guess...
He doesn't know what's going on, though. So it makes sense narratively that the story does not say a lot, but to us as the audience, it doesn't tell us much, which I think is what you were saying.
Yeah.
And with the retired sheriff, you'd think he would like help out more, like explain maybe a little bit more on how to kill it and maybe possibly stop it, instead of just giving us this like few lines that we were given. Maybe go along with it, become a better character.
It would have... Like, I get that the current sheriff isn't buying into it, but I think the main I don't know anyone's name. The main character, Carrie Russell's character, the teacher,
Mm-hmm.
like, she could have pressed him more and be like, you know, well, what do we have to do? Explain this more, blah, blah. And, like, she could have been more of an audience surrogate to get us more information, even without the current sheriff having to buy in. Because I think it makes sense that he doesn't believe it,
Yeah.
right?
True.
Like,
Yes.
most people wouldn't. But yeah, they could have used her character more to get us more information about how do Wendigo work. But I've started this 3 times now, and I keep getting interrupted. What I thought was going to happen was that someone else would get infected, whether it was, I think I had this thought before we saw Aiden start to turn. But I thought someone else was going to get infected, and knowing that you can only kill them in their weakened state and their weakest after feeding, I was like, there's going to be some weird scene where they have to decide who the victim is going to be that they throw to this Wendigo just so that they can kill it. And that's going to be really interesting. And then that doesn't happen at all.
I actually would have liked that. I would have liked seeing that, actually.
And then we got, for a moment, I was like, are they going to chicken out of her murdering this child? Because they're definitely setting up her murdering this child. And then, like, they don't chicken out. They do it, but they... I started laughing because the kid is just doing these weird whimper noises. And he does them for a while. And I'm like, okay, that's our sign that he's becoming a Wendigo. And then we, like, see the stuff start to come out. And then she sits down with Lucas and has this very quiet conversation. And the Wendigo's just whimpering in the background. And I'm like, shouldn't those noises be way louder than your conversation? Like, it's really weird. And then she goes in and she hugs him. And you see the little actor just going like, oh, yeah. And I'm just like, I find this hilarious to look at.
It's so weird.
Just have him be quiet. We get it. Just have him be quiet, and then you can have this tense, what should be this tense, emotional moment of her murdering a child. But I was just so thrown off by these little whimpers.
And it just became a little bit more, just a little anticlimactic.
Well, and then from there, I thought that the big ending was going to be her on trial. Because I'm like, she's going to go to prison for this, right?
Killing a child.
She murdered a child. And even though we, the audience, understand what happened, like, people are not going to understand that. But no, it just cuts to later. They're at this beach. Ignored that problem. So.
And then after that, both Lucas and her brother are sick now.
So I don't. Yeah, when the brother was talking about Lucas and he's like, you know what he's going to turn into, I'm like, is that how this works? Is like, do we know that he is? Or was he just saying that he's, like, disturbed and he's going to grow up disturbed?
I think it was just he's gonna grow up disturbed, not into what his dad.
But, like, the way he spoke, though, made it sound like this is a baby Wendigo that's going to become a Wendigo.
But he wasn't. We didn't really see any signs of infection. There would have been already signs.
Right, that's why I was confused.
He was helping them because he was the healthy one.
Yes. What we saw and what he said were conflicting, which is why I was confused. And then we see that he's infected, which is also separately confusing.
The principal, when she said that he was going to go check on the father, I thought this was just going to be like a phone call and then go over. But no, she just went over to the house, like, do.
Well, I'm assuming what happened was when either the same thing that with the teacher happened, where she called him, nobody answered because he's locked in the attic, or, you know, like, something like that. And they just, like, cut to the chase because they don't want to see... We don't want to see some old woman calling an empty house again.
I didn't think the principal was going to do anything. I thought the principal... The vibe that I got from her was that she was willfully ignorant and, like, choosing to ignore these problems because she didn't have to deal with them. And then she said to the main character, whose name I don't remember, she said, like, I'll reach out to him the next chance that I get, which I
Wasn't
took...
it like Juliet, though? The name?
I don't know.
Because I remember the brother calling her Jules.
I have no idea. But, like, I took that to be like, okay, if he shows up and the chance falls into my lap, I'll ask something, but don't expect me to go do it. So then when she goes to the house, I was like, that's not the vibe that I got, but okay. And then I think it was just because the story needed a victim to drive the plot forward.
Definitely.
But again, just like the dialogue that the characters have doesn't really mesh with how the story moves forward.
Yeah, I think the screenwriting on this could have been better.
I think most of the acting is pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought the little kid, for how much was put on him, even though he didn't do a lot, I think he did pretty well. The only bad acting, and I hate to call it that because it's a kid, but like the bully, when he was in the woods and he was like, I'm going to beat you up now. You know, like whatever he said, I'm not going to repeat what he said, but that felt a little like, who is this kid related to on this movie that he's here? But I thought the other kids did fine. I thought Carrie Russell does struggling maternal type pretty well. Because, like, August Rush is that same kind of concept. She was maternal to this kid that she didn't know, ended up becoming his mother at the end. Although in August Rush, it actually was her kid, but she didn't know that at the time. And, like, weird, troubled past with her parents. All three of those things also in August Rush. I don't know if you guys have seen August Rush.
I haven't.
It's about music. So I watched it a lot.
I feel like I've heard
Back in the
about
day.
it before.
But
Is that it?
overall,
Any other final thoughts?
no.
It's confusing. It might be less confusing if I knew more about Wendigos.
True.
It's confusing, and the plot doesn't go where you expect it to. Like nothing happens like you would hope it would. It's very disappointing, I think.
Although it did throw me off, just like the entire story overall. It wasn't bad though. Like it was very good.
It wasn't bad. It was good. It was just we weren't expecting a lot from this movie.
Right.
And
I
somehow
I had almost no idea what this movie was about. I didn't know it was about Wendigos.
I've seen 2 ads for it on YouTube, and that was about it.
Yeah, I'm like some
we
kind of
watched the
monster
trailer,
with
and
antlers.
Like half the dialogue in the trailer doesn't happen in the movie.
Well, like, and I remember at this point that Carrie Russell was in the trailers, but when she first showed up on screen, I was like, oh, she's in this? Oh, right, yeah, she's in this. I knew that, but I forgot. But yeah, that little scene with the former sheriff and, like, that line, this is a myth, and it's like, well, to you, yeah, like, that's the only thing that I was like, okay, I do remember seeing that in the trailer.
But you remember her saying something about scary stories in the
No,
trailer,
you remember
right?
that. No, I don't remember that.
We'll watch the trailer after this.
I
but
believe you.
They say something about, does anybody have a story or a fable that scares them? And then Lucas raises his hand or something and is like, I do. And that never happens. Never.
It's not uncommon nowadays for trailers to have scenes and lines that aren't in the movie.
But that was a big part of the trailer.
So like
that was a huge part of the trailer.
So you were expecting something more along the lines of like scary stories to tell in the dark, where like people are looking for scary stories, and that's like what's in everyone's heads as the plot is going on, and that's not what happened.
Yeah. See, but that was like a big part of the trailer that caught my attention,
Right.
and it just never happened. Not once.
I'm not gonna lie. For a long time in this movie, when it just kept showing the dad being weird, I was just like, "Are we not gonna get antlers in this movie called Antlers?" But no, we get there. It just takes a long time.
About halfway
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, so this is, like, what I would say about this is that I'm glad I saw it. Like, it was fine. I enjoyed it fine. If there's a sequel, I'll go see it. But barring that, I'm probably never going to watch this movie again. That's kind of where I'm at with it. There are topics that we haven't gotten into that I don't want to talk about on camera, but there are other, like, conversations based around this film that I would be interested in having with people. So, like, I kind of tapped into that aspect of it. But I'll leave that vague and mysterious for now. Look at how angry she is.
Yeah.
Do you need some human flesh to eat?
Alright.
I really like, I know, so, like, we're seeing this the day before Halloween, and I assume that's what this is about, but, like, I like that you dress up for, like, the movie that we know the least amount about, and, like, we have no expectations for it. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna paint my face for that one. I like it. Alright. That it? We done?
Yeah.
My foot's asleep. Goodbye!
Bye.
Hey everybody, Sam Tom here. Just wanted to let you know that I have 2 channels. If you're watching my music content, I also have a movie channel where I talk about movies and TV shows. If you're watching my movie content, I have a music channel where I do song covers, instrument demos, things like that. So feel free to check that out. Obviously, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that YouTube stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.